So good morning and welcome to SoulFood Top Up. I'm hoping I'm coming through loud and clear. So I'm Anthea Fenton and I've made it a mission really to switch on the camera on a Saturday morning and speak whatever intuitively comes up with the intention to uplift and really help to motivate all of us, whoever listens to this recording or live. All I ask that people do is send lots of love if they resonate with what I'm saying. I have often no idea what I'm going to say, so I really do ask people to send that love. Good morning, Tracy. So today's conversation is about spiritual awakening, and the reason why I'm wanting to talk about that this morning, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, but here we are. Good morning, Leanie. So I was just saying about sending lots of hearts if what I'm talking about resonates with you as well. So today's conversation is about spiritual awakening. And the reason why I've kind of focused on that aspect of life is because, as many of us know, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it can be quite a challenge sometimes to make that really clear in our lives. That sometimes we can get trapped in the human experience and become stuck there. So there's a lot more people that are awakening to spirituality. And hi, Tracy. And so I'm wondering about how people are doing. So what I've labelled today is spiritual awakening. What next? So my own personal journey is that I've always been aware of spirit and spirituality, but I've never really spirituality until much later as I've been growing and realizing that my experiences have been about a spiritual awakening to help bridge humanity, to help bridge our experiences here into being more, instead of being ego and dense space, but to be more spiritual and kind of like heavenly, if you will, bringing that heaven on earth qualities of peace, love, joy, where people are able just to relax in being. So shifting from doing to being. So I spent a lot of my first years in this existence doing. And as I was doing, I was also looking at how can we be? Because came here, I kind of felt that things weren't right and that I didn't realize that part of my existence here was to help to bring about balance. And so what's happening right now in our world, as many of us know, is that the energies are shifting more to a more divine feminine, a softer energy. And that means that each one of us have to navigate that energy into our lives. Thank you for the love. We have to navigate that energy into our lives. So instead of this constant doing, then the softer energies are helping us to be, where we're able just to be without feeling as though we are compromising ourselves. And I think that's the key word, that many of us have felt compromised in this world of doing. And now it's about how do we navigate ourselves to be without that compromise, without the competition, without feeling uncomfortable. And so when the spiritual awakening takes place, it takes place so many different ways for people, as we know. Many of us may not label ourselves to be spiritual or having a spiritual experience. And so the purpose of these conversations are really just to try and navigate the conversation in a way of sharing. So hopefully if it resonates, like I said, with yourself, then it's being able just to press that like button, that love, so that we can all see that this experiences that we go through, whilst they might be unique, there's a thread of familiarity for all of us. So that spiritual awakening in many ways comes about with pain. So if you're feeling pain, if you felt pain in the past, and it might be something that you constantly experience, so it might be that you feel sad a lot of the time, you feel quite depressed, you feel quite anxious, and these labels are labels that our society recognizes as a weakness, and that's okay. So this is just trying to help navigate our feelings. So what happens is that when we're not happy, and let's face it, even those people that think that they are spiritually aware and are spiritually awake, or it's, they might have felt that they've reached enlightenment, it's a little bit impossible to have reached enlightenment fully, because there's still a lot of us that haven't reached that place. And so part of our role is to help to navigate other people to that path of enlightenment, which is why I do these conversations, because I know for myself that it's a constant working at. It's not just, oh, I've reached spiritual enlightenment and then that's it, I'm done. Morning, Catherine. Hi, Grace. Great to see you. Good morning, Karen. Great to see you. Hi, Kimberly. I've not seen you for a long time. Finally caught the live, yeah, which is fantastic. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm asking people just to press that love button if they resonate with the words that I'm talking about, so that we can see that we're not one, we're not alone. Because on this path, morning, Law, morning, David, we're not alone on this path. There are many of us on this path of awakening, and it's not that clear. And it's not that clear because there isn't a rule book. We develop it as we're going along, and that's what this this process is about. Morning, Lainey. Thank you so much for the love. I love it. I love seeing those hearts. They really do inspire me. So our spiritual awakening can be a very individual process. At the same time, which is a contradiction, it's very similar to all of us. So, like I said, if you're having pains, if you've got symptoms, health symptoms, illnesses, sometimes again they are signs of our awakening, but it's just that our world, our medical world, wants to suppress those and put an ailment on them. Sometimes we have got ailments, and this isn't saying that that the doctors aren't right, but just be aware that the spiritual side in our world has been neglected. The spiritual awareness has been neglected. And so, like I said, the purpose of these conversations are really to share with you, in the hope that if you feel and you resonate, then you're kind of like, yeah, actually, that sounds like me. So you're not on your own. And I think that's the key, that many of us can feel on our own. Pains, yes, all of 2018, attacked by other people's energies. That's such a common one, Kimberly. As we know, you've really got to protect your energy. And this is where these kinds of conversations are so important, for people to recognize it isn't you sometimes. Years feeling as though the pains that I was experiencing were mine, and they weren't mine, they were other people's. But because I'd been taught to kind of like own your, to be responsible for my own things, I never even imagined that energy would be something that could just be attached. So it's really important to kind of like cleanse and declutter your spiritual energy on a regular basis, be that through just intention of meditating, just holding that space. It could be through saging. I don't tend to use a lot of sage, but I know that some people do, and that helps to cleanse the aura as well. Sometimes just burning an incense stick and just putting that intention of love around you, but wrapping yourself in a bubble of love, absolutely important. And again, these are things that we don't necessarily discuss openly, but yet they need to be discussed openly, especially as we move and start navigating these spiritual energies. I'm just mindful of all the conversation in the chat. Absolutely, yeah, it's really, really important. So that's kind of like one of the spiritual awakening. When we're on this journey of spiritual awakening, it's a very individual thing. But what my job is here in this world is to bridge the taking it from individual to bringing it to a collective, to bringing it together. So many of us can feel on our own and isolated. And that is, again, that's another pain. And that's also another familiar place. Many of us are familiar with isolation and doing things on our own. And what my job is to help bring us together. So it's not necessarily, so when we talk about spiritual awakening, there's a lot of spiritual people out there that are doing teaching. So they're teaching you how to be spiritual. It's actually impossible to do that, because the spirituality comes from within. So this isn't condemning anybody who's out there who's doing this work. That has been their work. They've been here to be teachers, to help us to navigate our inner journey. But there's come a point now where I see it more and more, that there are spiritual people, or people that have been on spiritual training, people that have done Reiki healing, lots of different modalities, and they've got lost because our energy is a new energy. So all the things that we did before they're all old. So we're having to recalibrate, kind of like, okay, so how are we meant to be in this new world, this new energy of being? And it's kind of like a bit of a bold claim in many ways, but one of the things that I know is I do storytelling. And I know that it goes back to such an ancient place in my experience, But I know that the storytelling is about each and every single one of us claiming our story. So we're in a world of qualifications. Many of us probably have got lots of qualifications, lots of certificates that we can pace the house with, you know. That's old. That's the old way of doing things. And the reason is that there is no teacher in our world. Our teacher is here within every single one of us. But it's about how do we access our truth? How do we access the teacher within us? How do we access our spiritual guru, if that's the case? And so through storytelling, what it does, it helps to create a level playing field. Because I'm not saying to you that I am any higher than you or I know any more. All I do is to help people to navigate their inner story, their inner world, their inner guidance. So by helping to declutter the spirit, it means that we then start accessing the truth of who we are. And that's where we're going to start seeing new ways of being coming about. So many of us have been taught to sit in the classroom and just be taught, you know, kind of like listen to me. And in a way, this process of doing this is very similar, really, in a way. But my intention is to help to spark, just ignite a passion within you, ignite you. And by telling your story, that ignition, it comes about because many times for the first time, people are actually sitting and sharing their story. The way that I do this storytelling, I was talking about it last night. We meet as a group of people, a group of storytellers that meet and we share our story. And last night I was saying that you can access the chapters, the first 5 chapters are free, and the rest aren't very much. It's like £5 a chapter, or the equivalent currency in your world. And the way that it works is that when I first started to record, to engage people and to share with people how the process works, many people want to write a book. That's the first thing. Many people want to write their story, reflect their story to help other people, and they don't know where to start. So what this process does, it helps to, by having the chapters already kind of like pre-written to a degree, all I ask people to do is to write their slant on certain issues. So for instance, the issues of money, that's a big one for many people now. It never used to be. People used to kind of like skirt around money and talk about health, personal development, hopes and dreams. Now more people are realizing that this balance of money is stunting the growth of many people. People having resources, of just basic resources, is essential for everybody. And until we all get together and start realizing that there's been some hidden agendas in our world, that it makes it more difficult for people when they're isolated. So isolation is a big one. That once we come together and start sharing our story, we start identifying similarities, and that kind of takes the pressure off us because we realize that we're not on our own. And then we start the space of actually, how do I want it to be different? How does my story, how can I bring my story to the world? But because we're doing it together, it means that you're not on your own in promoting your work. You're not on your own in any aspect of anything. It's kind of like any concerns or problems, you're able to share them in the community. And that strengthens people's confidence, their self-esteem, the self-worth and value. And that's, again, some core soft issues that have been missing in our education system. So what we're doing really is recreating a new education framework. We're helping to educate people by identifying that you are your own teacher. And if we can bring that out of you, then it means that you're impacting a community. And by impacting a community, you start identifying your skills, your passion. We start igniting that passion, but we can only do it together. So I've been doing this for a long time now, and I know that I've done it from lifetimes before. And I know that many people, even those that are listening right now, have said, right, Anthea, in a past life, this is what you're going to do in this life, and you're going to engage us, and we're all going to come together again as we were in our soul family. So there's a lot of that feeling that when we sit and we talk, many of us feel like it's a bit familiar. It's like, gosh, actually, this feels like we've done this before. We feel familiar because this is our soul family. And I do believe that we came here in order to be able to change our world. And by doing that, we change that inner world. As we change our inner world, it reflects on the outer world. So when it comes to a spiritual awakening, it doesn't matter where you are on the continuum, on this bridge. Our goal is to come together. That's one of the biggest things that we're not able to do in our world. We've been separated. This world has separated us. yet we know we've got that familiarity of togetherness. And so this process is about how do we come together and really respect and value each other by recognizing our story, recognizing the truth of who we are. So even if you're somebody who's done spiritual awareness, you've been awake for a long time, it's now about how do we come together. So recently I was over in Ireland, which Ireland is definitely my spiritual home, and my goal is to build a retreat in the west of Ireland for family, for people who are awakening, for people that want to awake and want to impact other people. Just by being in our community, you're impacting many people. And it's kind of like, it's really interesting, because when you think the only thing that you qualify for is your story, that's the only uniqueness about you, about each of us, is our individual story. But when we come together and we form this kind of like a circle, we realize that each fraction of each person's story is a story of our own. It's a healing process for each of us. It's an awakening for each of us. The triggers that we are able to demonstrate just by sharing the basics of our story. It's a really simple process that we do, but yet at the same time, it's really impactful, because it's about us sharing what's been done to us and claiming that, not making ourselves a victim, but recognizing that actually this is empowering. So when it comes to things like pain, as I said before, we can feel pain at the disasters that are going on in our world. But when we realize that actually we can do something with that pain, we can turn it around into doing something good for the rest of humanity. That's the difference. It's about empowering our pain in order to be able to influence and affect another. So just by being in that space, holding that space, the triggers that we bring to other people is us serving. We're all here to serve humanity. Our world doesn't work on our own. It really doesn't. It really needs each and every one of us to serve each other. And if that's just by sharing our story, that's enough. And that's the key, because many of us have been taught to work really hard in order to achieve something. But in actual fact, it's the complete opposite. So if you think about anything that's going on in your life, compare the opposite to what's going on. So if something isn't going right, think about the opposite of it. And as you think about the opposite of it, that's you bringing about solutions to your problems. Because if you know that something isn't right, it's because you know that there's a problem, because there's a solution in there as well. So when you identify a problem, the solution's also right there. So again, that's the whole purpose of the community, is to be able to recognize that there isn't any problems in our world. We just have to balance them out. So I can see there's lots of chat here in the community. Oh my gosh. Yeah, dark energies are whew, brilliant. Brilliant, Kimberly. I think one of the things, dark energies, luckily, I've had lots of experiences of that. Yeah, dark energies are very, at this moment in time, because we're shifting into this a lighter world, the tail end of darkness is really well and truly upon us. And so you will feel a lot. Um, okay, so Karen's, according to a test, my aura is almost non-existent. That's interesting. Okay, yeah, feeling alone, even with people around. Yeah, these are common things, you know. Karen, you need to join our writing community. I would love for you to tell your story. I know you've been on a few times, and I really think that you've got a lot to share. So do consider getting the 5 free chapters and start writing the process. This is the challenge, because like you've just said about your aura is almost non-existent and feeling alone. One of the things of dark energies is to push us into feeling alone, as though we are on our own. The challenge is believing in ourselves that actually we deserve to be in a community where you will get acknowledged, where we are acknowledging people purely from our, just being, from being. So it's not, we don't, what's the word? We're different. We're just so different from, yeah, it's just so different. I would encourage you to go to empoweringanhour.co.uk and to access the free empowerment training. So basically, the tools, we've got tools of ascension. I didn't know there were tools of ascension until more recently. So what the Empower in an Hour does, it helps to focus you. It helps to It helps us to have a conversation and start getting to know and to start sensing our energies. It starts to empower you from where you are, and to know that empowerment is a choice. That's a real key thing. I often say to people, every 6 weeks have a session, so that then what you're doing, you're not just aligning your plan to you, but you're also having a spiritual cleanse. So I do a spiritual cleansing as we're going through the process, which is just all part of actually holding space and holding intention with pure heart intention and unconditional love. That's really important. Where do we get unconditional love? It also is a place where people are able to share the truth of who they are. You're just able just to offload everything without feeling as though you're a burden. That's the other thing in our world, that many times we might feel that we're a burden to somebody else. I don't want to dump my stuff on you. This is the place where you're able to dump your stuff. You're not dumping it on me, you're dumping it in the space of the game. I would really encourage anybody who's watching this to access the free empoweringanour.co.uk. We've only just started running a pilot with it, so we're still in the pilot stage of empowering 101 empowering angels. And the reason for that is to protect the game. So the more people that play the game, the more protection that it's got. Because, we're in a world where we have to just protect what we're doing. And so the Empowering in Our game was kind of like, we talk about 11-11. There was the storytelling and then the Empowering Hour. So the two 11s have come together, or the two ones have come together to make 11. So I really encourage that. I then encourage people to distribute the game from around the world, and they get paid for that. So everything that I've done has been to make sure that we put the finances back into the community to empower the people. So instead of it being a massive game that people buy from shops and things like that, we are the shop. So in a way, the storytelling helps to build the manual for the game. So the areas that we cover in the book, we cover in the game, so that you build your confidence at being able to talk comfortably about things like money. Many people in the spiritual world don't talk about money. Unfortunately, that's part of the dark energies agenda, because money is energy. And once we recognize that actually we need to exchange our energy, if we're feeling like we haven't got enough money, it's because we're not exchanging our energy enough to serve people. So the more people we serve, the more finances that we're able to bring about. And as I said before, the finances that are to come about from this project is to build a retreat in the west of Ireland for all of us, to be able to access that space, to be able to really step into our spiritual mastery. And so what we have is the I Am spiritual presence. And that's a franchise. And the reason why it's called a franchise is because it's to really empower people to recognize that we already have the basic tools. All we're doing is empowering your story, your play, your fun, just releasing some of all that stuff that's hanging around that's no longer serving, and bringing you into a place where you can empower people like that in a moment. Many of us feel like we have to gather all this information and get ourselves all organized and perfect. That's just not how it is. It's kind of, even by just sharing this video as an example, is an empowering action. So it's about how can we deliver compassionate action just by being and doing things from the heart. And so this is all part of training. How do we do that? How do we share these videos? How do we engage people in playing? How do we engage people in telling their story? How do we engage people into recognize that this is a home for the soul? And that's a home for the soul. So I just breathe that in. That's what this is. And it's a place where you're able to just be. You know, luckily our world has done a really good job at keeping us isolated. Those dark energies that we're referring to, dark energies are really good for us in many ways, because they help us to realize that we're out of balance. They help us to realize that actually things have to change. I have to do something. They can be empowering, but when you're on your own in them, they can feel really, really dense, and just they get the ego mind to start trying to work things out. And life is not really, it really isn't about working things out up here. It really, really isn't. I have to remind myself all the time that when I start to think too much, that it's like, hold on, stop. That isn't the way that it's meant to be. So if you're thinking too much about anything, even if you're just thinking, this week I've really experienced not thinking, really just allowing thoughts to run through and then just let them go. And that's something that We have to really practice that, because as we realize and release things like dark energies are very good at keeping our minds ticking. Dark energies can fool us in so many different ways. When we come together and we share, dark energies can't exist. They do vanish. Dark energies are there to say to us, what are you going to do differently? I know when I was over in Ireland last time, I was attacked by a lot of dark energies. But what it did, it made me come back and develop my website. It made me realise, right, that is it. I have to speak out about charlatans. I have to speak out, but in a nice way, which is really hard. But I have to speak out about, and it's not that I want to label charlatans, but there's a lot of people out there that are claiming to be spiritual, and they might not even know that they're not being spiritual. However, what they are doing is triggering the spirit in another. So it's like when people talk about narcissists, as an example. Narcissists are fantastic teachers. So anybody, if you're in a relationship and there's dark energies, maybe just little. I was only thinking this morning, funnily enough, about my ex-partner. He was, well, there was two of them, but both of them were narcissists, or labeled narcissists when I look back. But in a way, they triggered me by empowering me to do something different, by saying, no, this is enough. So the narcissist, in many ways, is a fantastic spiritual teacher, because they trigger the spirit in each of us, and it gives us an opportunity to step up into our power. So that's how I have to look at things, not by just pointing a finger of you're a narcissist and it's like, no, actually, thank you for those lessons that you've taught me. Thank you that I am worthy. Thank you for, I used to plant little, not plant seeds as such, but I remember making a comment, and it was given, I was like, oh, I'm sorry for not pulling my weight, I think it was. I was really ill at the time, almost dying. And that was one of the reasons why my ex-partner had kind of said, you have to leave because you're not pulling your weight. So in a way, I've planted a seed of a term that then he used back on me. And that's when I started to realise, oh my gosh, actually this person is a narcissist. Not just that one incident, there was a few things. So he taught me to step up, thinking, no, enough's enough. This isn't for me. So it's not about condemning. It really is about, how do we learn from these experiences? How do we learn from this pain? What is this pain teaching me? And many times it's down to us not speaking out. Our voices are so important to speak out our truth. The vibration of us speaking out means that the ripple effects of what we're saying really does shift energy around us, and also for the collective. So that's the key in many ways, is we are doing this work as a collective. We might think that we're individual, but it's kind of like, if you're stuck in a mindset every day, you're waking up and dreading the day, or if you're, and I'm feeling that really strongly actually, where it's a case of the days, it's like Groundhog Day, I'm here again, it's the same old day, it's the same old feelings, then something has to change. And sometimes we can overthink things. We can think, oh, I need to work that out, I need to work that out, I need to work that out. It doesn't work like that. What spirit does is says, take the first step. Take the first step, and I will be there to guide you, to help you. Your higher self will be telling you that. So, be bold, be courageous. It's something, especially women, we haven't been taught to be bold and courageous. It's been frowned upon. But all I know is that for myself, I lived a very quiet life, just observing what was going on and feeling that things weren't right. Didn't feel like I had an opinion in many ways, but that was what I chose to do. Now it's the complete opposite. I know that I have to be bold. I've done some bold moves, some courageous moves, which would be frowned upon and have been frowned upon in my family in many ways. But I knew that I had to do it. I knew that I had to do something different from what everybody else is doing, which is just about speaking out and being, really, and sharing that at a time when we are all busy doing. And now we're moving into this world of being more. Now it's the time to step up and to start speaking out and reaching out to people like yourselves. So this is yeah, I was going to say, it's not a one woman show, but it has felt like that all the time. So yeah, thank you so much for your comments here. There's so many. Let's have a see. Oh, you take a black crystal with you everywhere you go. Fantastic. Kimberly. That word narcissist, honestly. Things do need to change. And do you know what, Karen? We are the changes of this world, because there's so much. Sometimes it can feel as though learning your worth so important, so important. Sometimes it can feel as though the changes are huge, and that's another illusion. It can feel like the changes have to be really, really huge. Our world needs massive change, without doubt. However, each of us embarking upon a hand-holding journey, each of us sharing our story, each of us stepping into our power in it's a very simple strategy. We're turning complexity into simplicity. And the way that we do that is by just layering each of the chapters is kind of like a gift back to humanity. As we speak our chapters, each and every single one of us, not only are we triggering ourselves, but we're also healing, not just here and now, we're healing past generations. So all those times when our ancestors couldn't speak out like we're able to now, across the world, we're able to reach each other. Which is just amazing, isn't it? When you think that the internet's there, that can be utilised for that. The internet's got some downsides, but what we're trying to do is increase communication. So we're increasing communication by recognising that actually we're all the same. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's a powerful, powerful process, and one that I will always sing my heart out, because I was somebody who was really quiet and just honestly wouldn't speak, wouldn't say anything, because I'd just be too frightened to speak in many ways and too frightened to express an opinion. Whereas when we come from ourselves, there's such a strengthening of who we are. It can be wobbly as well, because we're actually admitting to ourselves our story, and it's kind of like, where on earth are you able to do that? Such simple steps. So thank you so much for the engagement. Dark energies are definitely around. We can navigate the dark energies by speaking them out. There's a lot of dream activity going on at this moment in time. There is also as well a thinning of the veil like never before, where we are aligning to the different timelines that are taking place. So you might be having lots of dreams around people, around events, old memories coming back up. All that is currently shaking our world at this moment in time. Always remember, put your hands on your heart and just take some deep breaths. Really connect with your heartbeat. Keep yourself grounded. So there's a lot of stuff going out there like that. Just keep yourself grounded. Drink plenty of water as well, which I'm saying this as well in order to remind myself. Take plenty of water, lots of deep breaths, and it's all about how do we navigate it. And we've mentioned crystals. Crystals are a powerful tool to use. Again, one of the things about the crystals is that sometimes if we hold on to the crystals and we connect with another, sometimes when you're able to hold that crystal, it means that that intention going out there can help to bring about balance. So I do a lot of healing through the crystals. I've only started doing that. I didn't do that. 2016 is when I started really recognizing the power of the crystal. So again, if you're looking for some extra support, this is what it's all about, isn't it? It's about each of us supporting each other in so many different ways. And one of the simple ways is being able to hold on to that crystal with intention. Thank you so much for all the love. It really is. It touches my heart. It really sets me up for the day. And I hope it sets everybody else up as well, to see that there are lots of support here. Look how many people are sharing the love. Very nasty dreams. Yeah, exactly, Karen. There is a lot of, I had a dream this week. Let me just share you this quick. Yesterday I woke up and it's really interesting because I found I was being stabbed with, like my third eye was being stabbed with like a screwdriver, and my ears were being pierced as well, which would say sight and hearing is being attacked at this moment in time. And in the dream, I remember thinking, actually, I am not my body. I am not my body. We are not our body. Our body is just housing our soul. So nothing can happen in our dreams. Nothing can attack us. Nothing can harm us in the dreams, because it's our spirit that is being attacked. Our spirit is trying to be tampered with. And that's what I realized. I just thought, actually, there's no fear in this dream, even though I was like, oh my gosh, trying to fight off whoever was attacking me. But then I realised it felt like it was the Matrix. It's like, actually, what's the worst that can happen? And then I woke up, it was too late to continue with it. So yeah, nasty dreams are currently abound, and in a way it's good, because it means that the tail end of this negativity, this darkness, is trying to lash out, is trying to hang on as much as it can. So Karen, you're breaking through by having those kinds of nasty dreams. I believe it's kind of the spirit is being attacked, but at the same time you're winning, because they can't do it when you're awake. They have to come and do it in your sleep time. So thank you for sharing that, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. I'm back tomorrow with what am I back tomorrow with? I'm back tomorrow with quantum healing, the quantum healing cards, and next Saturday 11/11. Thank you so much for the interaction. It's been fantastic to see so many people online today. Yeah, bless. That's not nice, is it? So dog love. That's not nice. This is the thing, isn't it? It's they will try and attack from different ways, but don't allow that negativity to lower who you are. Just strengthen it up a bit, protect a little bit more. Thank you so much, everybody. Hopefully see you tomorrow on Quantum Healing at 8 p.m. UK time, if not next week, 11/11 on Saturday. Have a fantastic week. Bye for now. Much love to everybody. Bye-bye.